Okay, so looks like we're here. Just get this. Okay, so yeah, so we're here tonight. Open the window. Uh, or this afternoon rather. And yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about we're gonna do an end-to-end tutorial on using flow forecast for time series forecasting. So with that said, yeah, we'll get started. Um, as I said, a common criticism of some of my stuff has been it's all been on river flows, blah blah blah, or COVID. So today I'm going to do basically an example of solar energy forecasting. I'm going to probably do this about for the next 2.5 hours until roughly probably around 7:20 or so. Then we'll maybe do another session where we finish it off next week. But the idea is to just go through step by step in a lot of detail how to use flow forecast to forecast other types of data and create your configuration file and everything like that. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. So I'm going to be using this publicly available solar energy data set on Kaggle. It's publicly available to everyone. Likewise, I'll make this notebook publicly available at the end of this so people can see it. So yeah, we'll get started with that. Yeah, I guess before even getting started with flow forecast, you're going to pretty much do at least some of your normal data analysis on things. So we'll start by doing some of that. I did add just the install here so people can get started with this and started using it. So here we go. So this will essentially get this thing installed. We'll get full forecast installed. It shouldn't take too long. Now, so this data set, we're not going to use all of it. I'm going to keep this a simple thing, and we're not going to do stuff like passing in separate series IDs, which is possible. I might do that at a later date, and I'll tell you what I mean in just a second. So, cancel. So anyways, this will take a little while to install. It won't take a super long time, but it might take a little while. So basically, yeah, why this installs, is it almost done? We can look at the data set. So let's scroll down to the data set. I thought this would be faster. Install. So yeah, basically, we're gonna just do some like exploratory analysis, and basically join together some of the useful covariates, and then we'll actually get started in a second. What's taking so long? Yeah, I don't know what's taking so long to install. I think Kaggle's just being slow. that finally finish. Okay, so that finally finished installing. Now we'll just look at some of this data. I said earlier, actually, this stuff would be a good candidate for doing some stuff by series ID. But because there's a bunch of different actual solar plants, and we might want to forecast for each of them. So there is now a way, at least in one of our PRs, to do a group by thing. But instead, at the moment, we'll just essentially choose one of these to use and work with that. Or we'll also maybe do some pre-training now. But yeah, as I said, I don't want to dive too much in doing, say, like a group by, like where we try to forecast all these, say, at once. So let's just look at the solar data quickly. Where's this solar data? So yeah, basically it has the plant ID, the source key. I think all these had the same plant ID anyways. But different source keys are each at the same time step. So yeah, I mean, as I said before, we could make this a multitask problem, or we could do that thing where we create like a series ID embedding for each of these. Initially though, I'm going to keep this very simple. We'll just pick one of these. Looks like this one has probably the most time steps. So we'll just try to forecast one of these instead of all of them at once right now. So similarly, let's look at the weather data. We could do weather data dot head. Yeah, and it's similar. So yeah, it looks like there's just one of these for each. So okay, so yeah, the different things we want to forecast might be, I'm guessing, maybe daily yield, or wait, no. Well, yeah, we could forecast let's just choose to forecast DC power at this point. At the end, we might want to do the daily yield of the location, but for now, so yeah, let's quickly check some of these values. This is still kind of like my EDA, so I'm not making stuff that formal. But yeah, this is kind of like the type of EDA you probably typically do, and you definitely do before using full forecast. Dot count. So we're just looking at, so the vast majority of these is generated 0 power. So let's look at that one series we were going to potentially use. So, so yeah, this looks kind of a little tricky because it looks like, as I said, the vast majority of all the values are 0 for at least some of these. Is that gonna work? So yeah, the vast majority of these are 0, 0, 0. And then like, well, it looks like, what is that? There, I think I remember there was, okay, so it's about half are 0. And the rest are something else. So yeah, we'll just look at forecasting AC power right now. As I said, we could forecast both with multiple targets. I might show that in a bit if I get more time. But for now, let's just look at forecasting AC power given basically the weather stuff. AC power, the date, and date time features. We'll use date time features a bit too. So yeah, we'll have things like ambient temperature, irradiation, module temperature. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that. So next we have to join these two things together. So obviously that's important to do. So yeah, so now we're just gonna join these two together. So solar data dot merge. Forget how to exactly do this. Left on, I guess, date time. I gotta look this shit up. Weather data. So weather data left on. I think they both call it date time, right? Yeah. So left on date time. Right. Right on date time. Oh shit. That's not. That resulted in nothing in that data frame. And I don't really know why. I'm gonna check this. Might have to convert these to the same thing. So as type pandas converts column to date time. Oh yeah, I think you can do like PD to date time. So you would just do something like date time. Oh wait, equals PD lower data. Or wait, not lower data. Slower data. Okay. Now let's try this merge. Okay, now we have a lot more things. That looks right now. Okay. Yeah, we'll just keep some of the EDA here. So that should be most of our pre-processing. And then finally, the final thing we'll just do is do like this to CSV. Oh yeah. So and then we'll just do we'll do that source key thing. Just gonna copy my earlier equal statement. MDF. This is my complaint. Dot to CSV. Predict.csv. Oh yeah. Let's do that. Okay, so we can. What? Oh, it's now like source key X. What? That is definitely in there as a fucking key. Oh wait, I didn't do this. Okay, so that basically concludes the pre-processing portion, at least in this setup. Again, yeah, we probably, in an actual, application, we probably wouldn't be doing this exact way. We would probably be trying more to, forecast all the different things, given certain temperatures. What we're trying to do here is just forecast, very simply what AC power will be for this one solar thing given essentially these weather conditions. Yeah, I mean, and others given these types of weather conditions and radiation. That's probably not a good name for it. I'm gonna try to call this example. Something like that. Okay, so now simple forecasting with flow forecast. So now that we did some of the pre-processing, we'll now just look at forecasting the output for a specific station. In this case, a specific source, panel or whatever this actually is, given essentially the weather at that plant. So we'll just start right with that. So to do this, I've said before, and I'll do it again here. For most problems, you might want to start with DARNN. Just because it's useful to use, and it's a fairly simple model. So we can go use one of the other notebooks to kind of get an initial configuration file. I think I had one where I was forecasting using it for river flow. All these are public and there are links on the site, so I'm just pulling up this one because it uses DARNN before, and it's fairly similar. And yeah, we can just pull the config and the sweep file from here. So this is what the config and this is what the sweep will look like. I'm going to replace this with I'm going to call this project solar tutorial. Model name. So we'll just work on getting this kind of right. Looks like there's some syntax shit when I copied it. Oh, that actually ran. Okay. So, yeah, so what we have to do here is change the names of the columns. Again, actually it's probably good to print what the relevant things will be. So here we'll just do MDF. Or I mean, it's basically the same columns as there. So the columns we're gonna use here will be essentially we're trying to forecast DC power in this case. So we'll just use these free ones. So in this case, if we go to relevant columns, I think this data is already pretty well clean, so I don't think we actually need to interpolate anything. So I'll get rid of that. I'm gonna make these numerical. Okay, I'll go for what I'm doing in this sec. So yeah, we're basically, I'm taking this existing config file right now. So basically here I'm going to, DC power is my target. The target's always going to come first in the list, or if there are multiple targets, they have to come first. It doesn't matter which targets before the others. But so that's the target. Then these other things are also useful. So I'm just gonna replace these here. Oh fuck. Why does it have this junk? Okay, so basically I just replaced these. These are now my relevant columns. Relevant columns, DC power, irradiation. So those are the relevant columns. So I'm gonna take those, I'm just gonna paste them. Eventually we're gonna get rid of this thing. It isn't in the current released version. This one still requires specifying both, which is a pain in the ass. But so this is going to be there. Then yeah, then what we're going to do, as I was saying, so yeah, what I was saying was we have these feature params. I think I'm going to make these numerical. I actually haven't seen that great of results with cyclical features. Now, basically, to get the total number of time series that are being passed in, at least for this model, it varies what's counted. In some models, we don't count the temporal features as separate time series, but in this one we do because they aren't separated. Um, Basically, what we do now is we just count 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 2 feature time series 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2. We might want to also have like day of week here. So that's 6. I'm also going to add day of week. Day of week, and I'm going to make this also a numerical feature. I'm just assuming like they might have different. Well, I mean, actually, generation probably won't matter, but the operators might be operating different stuff on different days of the week. So I'm gonna just make that a numerical feature too. Definitely month should play a big role. I'm not sure. Oh, well, yeah, obviously hour of the day, because that's when the sun shines. We could also potentially do minutes as a feature here too. I don't think the minutes is going to make a particular difference. So altogether, that's going to be these 4 features plus these 3. So that's 7 total features. So this is going to be 7. And then basically these are always just going to be we could just we could keep the same name, though it's a bit confusing. I'm just going to change it to solar file path just to not confuse people. Or actually, full file path could just be into this is just the path to the file, which is going to be passed as a variable. Originally, this was for this config file. As I said, I copied it from the forecast data. Anyway, so yeah, those are kind of those. We then are going to just change these to the same thing down there. This is still an annoying thing. For a while in inference params, you had to make sure the data was the same, essentially. You had to have this essentially just copy the same thing into your inference params, which was a pain in the ass. As I said before, we got rid of interpolate params. In future versions of flow forecast, you won't have to do this because these will be copied automatically in our code, so there won't be the need for have this excess stuff in config, having to repeat the same stuff twice. Sort column, yeah, so likewise we need to update the sort column. The sort column here is just going to be the date time. Is there a sort column? Yeah, so date time. Date time. Oh wait, what did I save this file as? Oh yeah, I saved it as example access. Yeah, I could actually. Oh, what was I doing here? Okay, I'll just delete that. so yeah, that's kind of what that will look like. I'm just gonna also save this one other file in case we do the multiple things later. We'll call this yeah, so we'll just do that. I just wanted to have a copy of that file too. Okay, so yeah, okay, so that's working. I'm gonna rename that too. Okay, so again, we'll get back to the actual configuration file now. Basically, yeah, as I said, yeah, so I'm gonna look at the length of this file now, and then I'm gonna use that to figure out what my things are. Oh yeah, I didn't run that stuff. So yeah, so this is what, so it looks like this is about, let me look at this, when of this, we have about 2,099 rows. Not sure if any of those rows are actually missing, because I remember before it was longer. Yeah, wasn't it longer? I think in the original Solar DF, when we did that, it was longer. Solar DF. I'm just gonna replace that. Oh, I have to do that, change the name. What? How's Solar DF not the front? Oh, wait. I just called it Solar Data, I think. What the fuck? Oh yeah, because the source key was called something different. So what was the len here? So it was, so wait, we're missing 11,000 rows. I'm guessing those 11,000 rows actually came when, like, there wasn't weather data there. So if I wanted to do, so I'm guessing that I think that pandas merge actually up here was basically essentially did an inner join. Pandas merge. Come on. Pandas merge. Yeah, I think that did an inner join essentially. How? I think we actually wanted a left join, and then we could say interpolate this stuff. So actually we might need that like block I deleted after all for the interpolation. Now everything's getting out of order. I'm just gonna check that the things I've been saving are actually running to something we should do with Kaggle. Okay, that's good. So, okay, so I think, yeah, when merging, we actually wanted to merge, um, a left join, 45,000. So there's going to be some missing. So, but what I'm going to look at now is essentially, what the fuck? It still should be source key X. I mean, oh yeah. So I was changing the names. And then this should just go how. I am gonna use that file later. So yeah, but not right now. So, okay, so we'll look at this quickly. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so see, these are now the same ones. We just now have to figure out how to fill the missing values wherever they are. I'm just gonna quickly look and make sure that some of the missing values aren't some like huge contiguous block, because then even with our interpolation, then if like 50 values are say in a row are missing, it's gonna be hard for our interpolation to actually fill those well in a meaningful way. So let's see. Let's do merge df dot. Same we can do where. Df where value. Okay. Pandas where value. Man. Wait, no, panda, how about, there must be something. Pandas show all nan rows. Oh, so you can just do is NA apparently. I've probably used that before. So things like ambient temperature should be like here. So one on this looks like there are a couple ones. Or wait, wait. We wanted that subset though. Oops. Let me check this out. Yeah, there's so much time that goes into some of this initial data cleaning. But it's important. We're hoping actually to have more modules and flow forecasting to help with some of this data cleaning and stuff, but some of it can't be really entirely avoided, at least. Okay, so what was it? So yeah, so we had this, well, let's call this something. I'll just call it series df. Oh, that's gonna annoy me. So we'll just do series df because all we care about right now is this one. And I mean, they're all gonna be the same anyway, so. Because, like, we were doing a join, and there's just one Weber thing, so. Actually, each sensor had its own Weber chip, and we could try to interpolate some of that, but it doesn't, so. So basically, looks like, yeah, there are a couple blocks that are missing things. So, let's see, are most of these back to back? Some of these are back to back, it looks like. Okay, what about, so it's around, let's try something. So yeah, it's about 1,055 rows in total. Actually, I kind of like to download this and see what this looks like. Example CSV. We're gonna look at this. Sec. I just want to scroll through and see like how big the NAND gaps are, kind of qualitatively. So yeah, we'll look at some of the NAND gaps here. I'm just looking. So at some point, okay, so some of these are zeros. I'm actually not seeing, so I haven't seen it. Is this the big file? Oh wait, which one was the one I saved that was just, now I'm getting confused. That was just, okay, so this should be example, right? So this should only have like 3,000 rows, right? Yeah. Let's see, example 2. This should only have like wait, why does this have some, oh yeah, this is only 3,000. It's just that I didn't reset index on it. So is NA, so it looked like it said on the 20, where is it saying there's NA here? 2020, on the 15th of May it's saying, or wait, no. On January the 6th, it looks like there's some NA. Oh, this isn't sorted either, which is annoying. Sort descending. Okay, so it looks like, oh shit, this is not nice. Looks like for several months. So it looks like, yeah, it looks like for basically the whole, it looks like basically from 2020. At the station has data from okay, so it's the end of 2020 is where they don't have the Weber data. They have the power generation data, but not the Weber data. So it looks like it's about from the 7th of June on, my guess. 7th of June, there's no weather data. There's only the power data. Which, I mean, I guess would be useful if we were trying to. But that looks like that's, what is it? That's about 576 rows, so that's half of them. This was, I think, saying, oh crap. Looks like. So it looks like in January, both in January, we actually only have weather data for this, like, middle section, which is in all honesty kind of shitty. We only really have weather data from it looks like the end of, it looks like the end of May. The end of May, May 15th to June. Okay, maybe we should drop NA here actually. Which is gonna leave us with about 1,000 fewer rows. Yeah, this might not be such a good data set to demonstrate on, though it is very real world, but yeah, because there really isn't that much data during that period. What I'm hoping is that there is other data. Is that, I mean, particularly when we go to the series ID, that it works effectively. Anyway, so we'll just drop some of this stuff. I'm going to drop the NAs, and then we'll go from there, I guess. So, because like you can interpolate, you can fill missing values when it's like a couple missing values in like series, and there's some gaps here and there. But if you just have like no data for several months where the temperature is going to be extremely different, it's not going to be really useful to to use those values. So I'm just gonna, I guess I'll just do drop NA. I think that will work, right? Oh, but then it has no attribute to CSV. So we just have to call this, I'll just call this dropped. I'll just do dropped to CSV. Oh wait, no, that was stupid. I think, yeah, you just do that. Okay, so, yeah, so, okay, so we're not going to do interpolation after all, I guess, kind of like the original thing. So, we're just going to look at this. It's going to be, we have only 2,099. So this is actually a problem that, yeah, as I said, we really would want to use multiple series at once, eventually. But when I go to do that, it's going to be more complicated. So for this point, I'm still only going to use this one kind of station. But as I said, when I come back, I might do another tutorial next week, and I'll do a more complex example where we actually use all of them together, and I'm almost certain it will outproduce anything we get here. But anyway, so we have 2,099. I guess what we can do is we could just try training on, say, 1,500 time steps. That seems reasonable. Then we'll do validation on 250, and then yeah, testing on another 250. So in order to do that, since we're using the same file, train start we'll set to 0. And then we'll go to essentially, we'll go to 1500 here, 1500. Then from here on we'll do validation start. We'll do 1501. Validation end 1750. Test start 1751. Test end, we'll do like 2000. What was it? We can go to the end, I guess. 2099. So that's those. We can keep the scalar the same. We don't need that many workers on Kaggle. That part looks good. Criterion, MSE, optimizer, SGD. So for our test date, we'll pick one towards the end of here to start doing that. This is what will actually be plotted versus, you know, the forecasted versus the actual. So we'll do one right before the end. So let's see what would be a good one. Maybe right. Oh wait, this is actually in reverse. Never mind. I gotta get this in the right order because it's confusing me. Sort descending. Sort descending. So we'll go back down here. So we'll look at the tail end of this here. So we can do, I guess, number of time steps. 6, 17. Okay, so this would say, yeah, we'll do 2020, the 17th on 8:00. 2017. 1 second. What? I'm in the middle of something.
Okay, well, call me or text me.
Okay, so I'm back. Hopefully that's still streaming okay. I had to take a 1 second break. So yeah, I was just saying that yeah, we'll do 2020 the 6th, and then the 17th, and then we can do 8. So that's where now the forecast should start, and this is really the number of time steps to forecast. So we'll just try forecasting for, let's say, 50 time steps. That sounds reasonable. I think there's 50 after that. Or we could try 30, I guess. You can keep this the same. That's the number of prediction samples for the confidence interval. So now we can look at some of these. We won't be playing with batch sizes this large because this is a very small data set. So we'll probably do the sweep on some smaller batch sizes, maybe 10, 20, 30, or 50, maybe 40. These look okay for warning rates. Forecast history, I guess those are okay to start. These are our hyperparameters and they'll get subbed in and stuff in a second. I think the rest of these hyperparameters look okay. So we'll go ahead and make the we'll go ahead and just run this. Oh, I think I forgot a comma somewhere. Yeah, I forgot a comma here. So we'll run that. There'll probably be a couple errors. I'll always find them, particularly when doing a new problem. So yeah, train function, we can just copy this type of thing. So this is how it will generally work. As I said, we'll replace this with solar tutorial. The file path here is just going to be example.csv. That was fine. So we'll just, for this, these are just optional tags that it will tag it with weights and biases. These aren't required, but if you have a lot of runs, they'll help you sort things. So I'm just going to tag it by what the station number is. None, so this is fine. And then so we'll see what error this throws. I often have to run it several times before things get right, just because there'll usually be some subtle errors in the config or subtle errors elsewhere. We'll just debug those together so you have a good sense of how to deal with them. So it looks like it already hit some sort of error. Type bool object is not subscriptable. I don't know if I've seen that particular one before. Let's see where it did. Relevant columns are, yeah, probably in our config in that case. We've specified something as a bool where it expected an actual set of parameters. One of the things I don't like is weights and biases. Doesn't really print good error messages. So if you're running a sweep on weights and biases, it's very hard to get the actual error message. Now, weights and biases says it should be in these logs, but in reality it almost never is and stuff. So usually to get the full error message from weights and biases, you have to actually run it in non-sweep mode, because usually these logs don't say shit in terms of the full Python traceback. It definitely doesn't say the full Python traceback here. which is annoying. So but basically, so it was the bool. It looks like based on what printed. Feature params. Let me see. Yeah, it looks like we probably just specified something as true or false when it needed a parameter block, is what I guess. Feature params. Maybe we did need interpolate. Relevant columns are, so basically I'm gonna go back to my code. So yeah, normally when this happens, actually what I recommend you doing is probably actually running it without the weights and biases sweep. Crap. My powers is to run it without the weights and biases sweep, because that will give you the actual error message. So actually I should probably show you how to deal with that. Of course it would be, I'm gonna try to not get too snarky, but it is frustrating that this problem with weights and biases not giving a full error message has now been going on for months. So yeah, actually I'm not going to do what I was about to do, because what I'm about to do is actually using pretty much my own knowledge of the code to manually go through and find the error, which probably won't be that helpful for people that don't have a deep understanding of this. So instead, the other way, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but until weights and biases fixes their error logging to actually give useful error messages, it's kind of what you have to do. You basically just replace the sweep config with and all these values with basically with the values that would get subbed in the sweep, and then when you run it without a sweep, what will happen is that it will just print out the standard error message. So yeah, I wish there was an easier way of handling that, but that seems to be this thing. So basically what we can do now, in order to just so I don't have to go back and forth between configs, I'm just going to copy this config, and I'm just going to sub in, these values that were actually subbed in when they were run. So it looks like it was forecast history of 14. Forecast history of 14. Decoder size is 3232. A dropout of a learning rate of 0.1, dropout 0.1. So I think this was 0.1. That definitely didn't have to deal with it, so whatever you put in there should be fine. So yeah, those should be the main things. This would be, again, 14. This would be 1. Think, what was it? Batch size. We did batch size. What was batch size? 10. I'll just put whatever here. These things actually, these parameters I don't think are what are causing the error. But really, normally you just sub in all this shit, which, as I said, is a pain in the ass. 14, 20, or no, this was just 1. This was 20. So 10. Yeah, it was 10. So So yeah, you just sub these in. At the end, there should now be no WAN-DB configs since we're not running a sweep. And now what we just do is we can just run this train function normally. So basically here we were just doing a lambda sync. But now I just run train function like this. Oh, or not like that. And now we get the full error. Okay, so basically the error was related to how we were passing the things to interpolate. So actually when we had the interpolation block, I shouldn't have done it in that way. I should have, interpolate should have been, let me go back to what interpolate. That's actually a bug I should probably fix. So like if there's no interpolate block, it should automatically be set to false, but for some reason it isn't. Okay, so I'm gonna just try setting this to false. I might actually open an issue with that. So I have to copy that. So yeah, I think at the moment, at least in this release, you need to interpolate. You need to set interpolate to false manually, I think. Ambient temperature. Oh, looks like I missed a comma somewhere too. I'm just running through it the rest here until I know that my config file's right. Then when it is, I'll So I guess yeah, in the current documentation I should note you actually need the interpolate block. Oh, did I not put commas anywhere here? Oh shit. So yeah, these are obviously lists, which should be obvious. So yeah, you definitely need commas separating them. I think the config file should be right after that, so I'm just going to now go back to my actual sweep config, which I didn't modify because I wanted to have that other stuff. Or yeah, I'll just keep running it here. Let's see if another error. But yeah, I'll fix this up here. Yeah, or yeah, I was just doing the columns. But yeah, I think better error handling is definitely something we'll work on, because those error messages aren't always the best. And yeah, there does probably need to be more documentation on how to do the interpolation. So, oh shit. Now I just. So yeah, so basically you go here, set interpolate to false. Like I did below. This will give us our basically refined config file. Because we're not doing any interpolation. I actually definitely do think, like, if you're not doing any, you should just be able to not have the block at all. Okay, so now it was, yeah, errors related to GCS client. I'm going to just say GCS is going to be false here. Or train start. Oh, what the fuck? Oh yeah, I forgot a comma. That should get started running now. Oh wait, did I accidentally mess up the GCS? Okay, so yeah, GCS should just be set to false. So this should fail pretty quickly. So, now we can run this again. Hopefully it actually runs now. Okay, so it looks like it's actually starting to enter the training, which is good. So I just ran epoch, a single epoch. Now might be a good time. So I think I don't want to delete until I know for sure it runs once all the way through. Once this is done though, I'll probably delete that, or actually I can just set like debugging config so that people know how to debug. How to debug this. So we'll see that. I think this is set for 10 epochs. I'm not sure if I specified early stopping. There is an definitely early, early stopping is here. So it looks like it actually is improving, or it would be stopping. How many epochs did I say to train this for? Let me see. 12? Okay. Value error, unconverted data remains. Oh, I think so. Basically that it might not like me passing that string like that depending on where it's being converted. I thought I could pass an hour though, but I might not be able to in the current code. I'm actually going to check that right now. Because yeah, when I do the date time, so when I do inference on the evaluator, let me see. I have to, you do basically do load that like hours to forecast parameter. Or wait, date time, no, it's when we load date time start essentially. Oh, yeah, so, so yeah, daytime start, yeah, I need to get daytime start, that should actually be a bug, because daytime start, the thing is it needs, to be able to support, numbers. Specifying hours or minutes in date time start at present should be fixed to allow either. Oh god, this looks like a pain. I didn't even know that happened. Because yeah, usually I just specify a day. I guess that could be an enhancement. Oh shit. I treat that URL as two things. I'm gonna remove that. It's actually more of a bug. Let's see if this. Okay, so yeah, currently, yeah, I don't think you can actually specify a day yet. which, or you can specify a day, but you can't specify an hour. Because as you can see, the way this is parsing right now, it's just gonna view that as junk. Um, so I don't know what to do about that. The only thing I can think of is to start the forecast essentially at the start of the day. So this will now just do the start of that day. Um, of course, that definitely will be fixed. Um, but yeah, probably not until. Okay, let's save this. Is that an extra scene? We don't need that actually. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. I've had that problem happen for a couple of times. I've only discovered issues when I've actually been trying it on different problems, but yeah, that should be fixed, I think, by next release, along with better error handling. See, these tutorials help me figure out what's wrong with this stuff myself, too. Well, the error handling is actually weights and biases. Like, there's nothing I can do because even if I add more error messages, if weights and biases doesn't print them, then it doesn't do me much good. So I really hope that they fix that soon. Okay, so let's see. I think that's good. I'm just gonna save this. Program failed. Why did it fail this time? Error key. Interpolate param. Oh, it's that stupid interpolate param again? Okay, wait, so that should be, okay, yeah, that. Okay. Yeah, that needs to be fixed too. So things for on my to-do list today are fixing the interpolate param issue and fixing that that thing. Actually, I should probably create an issue out of the interpolate thing. Said about that. Okay, let's go back to the notebook. Wait, does this start running again? Come on, just run. Oh shit. Yeah, and this is another weights and biases error that happens. Is occasionally it just goes like, oh, the weights and biases backend is shut down. This essentially means you need to like restart the notebook. I don't know if you have to restart it entirely from scratch, but I usually do something like that because once weights and biases backend process shuts down, it basically means that you need to rerun everything, or else weights and biases is kind of screwed. We can just go from the top probably. It's annoying, yeah, because I really don't want to rerun all this stuff, but yeah, some of these errors, I'm hoping, yeah, weights and biases gets a bit more mature, because there's still a lot of kind of odd bugs and bad handling of errors. Even though, like, overall it's a great tool and I like using it, I've had a lot of problems with bugs. Though actually, to be fair, I think that back-end processes shutdown error is becoming more rare, at least. I don't see it as much as I used to. But yeah, the error log thing is something they really need to fix, because yeah, it's just too much of a pain to try to set all those parameters manually. Okay, so we'll wait while this runs. Hopefully we can get this to run all the way through. Just keep waiting. So yeah, once this finishes, so you can scroll a bit down. So it looks like it's still running. Now if this runs successfully, it will actually just go directly to the next run and keep running until it's finished, obviously. So and until it's finished the entire hyperparameter sweep, that is. So wait a sec. Error, key error, date time. Oh yeah, wasn't that an old thing? Yeah, that might have been an old thing. Was that there was, yeah, a problem with the date, with not having a date time column. So I actually fixed that in my issues. So yeah, basically here, or is that still an open issue? Okay, so yeah, that's actually an open issue. I knew it. So the workaround for this is just to create, in any file you're forecasting on, is to essentially just create a date time column. So and that's basically just a column called date time. So but as you can see, it is an issue to work on. So dropped equals dropped. So that's basically all you have to do. So, we'll kill this so that doesn't continue. Drop. What the fuck? Okay, so that should be fine. So we'll go rerun this just quickly. So yeah, that's definitely an issue that's on the list. It's actually been there, I think, since January. I could probably fix it pretty quickly. But if anyone wants to contribute a PR, it's a pretty easy fix. Basically, just to assign the date time columns to be to equal basically whatever the sort column here was. There should be a sort column. You could probably use the sort column clone and then just fix that. Might actually open a PR to do that next, depending on how long this takes. But yeah, because originally I just always envisioned the file that you pass to it would have a column called datetime, which would be basically the core column to always sort stuff. But now it doesn't really matter as long as you have a column of datetime values. So there is another parameter already called sort column. So really, sort column should just sub in for datetime column at this point. Is what I think for that at least. So we'll just wait for this again, see what comes out. Basically, as I said, what's happening right now is it is training the model fine. It's just having problems plotting those last plots associated with the model output that come as kind of a standard thing we do. But yeah, the training is going fine. Okay, so it looks like it is plotting. I thought I cleaned up some of this print debugging. But in any case, okay, yeah, so it didn't error there. So now it's basically going on and it's going to run this entire hyperparameter sweep. But now if we go look at the shit, at this stuff forever, we should be able to see like some examples of what it's plotting, kind of like you watch my thing, you'll see some similar charts. So this is the prediction, it looks like, for predicted DC power. Yeah, so basically, yeah, this model, well, basically DARNN actually has no activation at the end for like softmax, so occasionally it does learn to just predict some negative values. This is obviously probably one of the worst cases you see, but like if we did put out a softmax at the end, it would basically just predict 0 here instead of predicting negative, and then predict upwards, which might actually make sense. So yeah, again, this is just one of the models, and we're gonna search. I don't know how many permutations of hyperparameters are gonna be searched now. But it's definitely going to be significant. We can see like 3 times 3 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. So in the end, I mean, if we ran through this whole parameter search, this would be something like 2,304 different permutations of different hyperparameters. So we'll definitely see better results at that at the end. But that's kind of an end-to-end example of getting it up and running. As I said, this data is very short, so I think likewise, with the series ID and other things, probably models would work much better. But that's kind of just a tutorial of getting the config file right, the sweep file right. I don't think I'm gonna go too much longer tonight. Or I might tune back in later once this parameter sweep is actually finished. One of the things that will happen as it runs, it obviously prints, some print debugging, so your browser will get slower. One of the things you can do is you can just clear output periodically, in order so you don't just have a lot of things. Yeah, this was something we debated a while whether to print this, but we actually found it was useful for debugging model stuff, to print some of this. I actually think we'll probably remove some of that print statements there. But anyways, yeah, why you are particularly running along hyperparameter sweep. How do I clear output on Kaggle? I don't actually know how to clear output on Kaggle. That's restart. I definitely don't want to restart. I don't actually know how to clear output on Kaggle. I mean, I'm more used to working on Colab, but Colab it's easy. I don't want to restart. No, come on. I want to hide the output. I don't know how to hide that. Maybe someone can teach me how to hide clear the output for the cell here, so I'm not actually seeing it. Anyway, so definitely clear your outputs. I recommend using Kaggle, or I mean Colab rather. For that, yeah, this is gonna run a while. I have no idea how it will perform. This was kind of just our first shot, but yeah, basically this was showing how to get like up and started in kind of an hour and a half, get some model forecasting. So yeah, that's that. I do think I'll probably do another live coding maybe on Wednesday where we'll go a bit deeper in trying to get better models, use maybe different models than this, and really work on training. But yeah, that's kind of the basic thing to get started. I'll make sure to make this public too. I'll make this public right now, so people can see. I'll save a fresh version just to make sure we have it. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this tutorial. Tomorrow, yeah, later in the week, I'm gonna fix up some of these bugs that I showed, and also hopefully actually have a new release too, and then we'll get into the kind of series ID stuff, which will probably be a lot funner. So as always, if anyone has questions, feel free to leave them on YouTube or wherever. So see if any of these look any different. Let's check that. So yeah, it looks like the loss does go down. Some of these look pretty weird. Yeah, I mean, you're always gonna get, and that's why it's important to do a hyperparameter sweep. You're always gonna get like some ones that are really weird predictions, models that are really weird predictions. You just have to really let the sweep run, and then at the end see what your best models are in terms of everything. Just out of curiosity, I will check what this model's looking at exactly. I'd assume that radiation factor would be a big thing. So it's really looking at DC power at the last time step, ambient temperature. Doesn't actually look like it's looking at your radiation much, which is probably why it's not doing well. Yeah, the first one actually looked a lot better. Yeah, this with just like a softmax, or wait, no, softmax or something else, or Raylu is. I forget. Yeah, I think Raylu. That with a Raylu would actually probably wouldn't be that bad, because then it would always be. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Raylu would be good here because then all this crap junk would then just be 0, and then this would go up and actually look like somewhat it was working. So I think we can actually, I forget, there is this thing in Flow Forecast where you can specify an activation function. Though I haven't written any documentation for that, and I wrote it a while ago, so I don't remember actually how to do that. Activation. Yeah, there is an activation dictionary. I should probably write more. Oh yeah, so like actually with DARNN you can pass like a final act, I think. And if final act, then it will basically run like an activation. I really need to write documentation for all this stuff. Because yeah, there's actually a lot of features in here that like people probably could use, but they just would have no idea because they're not well documented. But anyway, so yeah, anyways, I have to get going and stuff, but yeah, if that's the tutorial, feel free to reach out if you have questions.